Hey guys, welcome to Exclusively Inclusive, a podcast where we focus on spin instructors from the time that they step foot in the very first spin studio to the time that we do the interview and what that whole journey is like, what they've learned, what they've taken away. So today we have Miss Emily Orson. She's an amazing person, a friend of mine, and we delve into some heartfelt topics which include overcoming fears, panic attacks, anxiety, spirituality, and body movement. We also talk about universal alignment and how everything happened through the universe to get her into a career as being an instructor. And then we also get into some of the things that we talk about with all spin instructors, which is your musicality, your playlisting, and the what we call the energetic arc, which is being intentional with how you build your playlist for your riders. So I hope you take something good away from this, and I hope you enjoy it. But before we get started, stick around, watch the last 40 seconds of her last class. It's an amazing push, and I think you will see why she is so special. Have a great day, and we will see you on the other side.
All right, right here, right now. Walk the plank. Let's see it. Go!
Hello. What's up, Emily?
Hola.
How you doing?
I'm doing well. Thank you for asking. How are you?
Wonderful. So this is the very first interview that we've done. So very first podcast. It's called Exclusively Inclusive, and there's a little bit of a story behind it, and it kind of comes back to how inclusive this room is and this occupation. It's every person's different, right?
Exactly. Wonderfully different.
Wonderfully different, yeah. I mean, and that goes for our instructors, that goes to riders.
Mm-hmm.
Whether you're brand new or if you've been doing this for 8+ years, everybody's different.
Yeah.
And
It's like a giant symphony. If we were all the same,
yeah,
it'd be so boring.
you've led it very well. It's been fun. It's been a fun journey. So kind of, I'll give you a background. The way that this came about was we were here about a month ago, and we were helping Paige. It was the first time that I got to come in and watch her work with you, and you told me a little story about kind of what you were going through the very first training you went through and why you had to drop out. And I was like, holy shit, I didn't know this about her. And so that made me wonder, I think that we think that we know people very well, but there's always something that we don't know. And the journey for spin instructors, I think, is a little bit different than other modalities. And so I want to hear what your story is. And we're going to kind of jump through the very first time you stepped into a spin room, your journey up until today.
Wow. Okay. First day I stepped in a spin room. I've always been geared towards fitness, and so I had no idea what a spin class was, but I thought, well, it's some kind of group fitness. I could probably hang. And so I went to my first class because somebody I knew said, hey, it's like riding indoor bikes, but kind of like yoga. I was like, what is this? How do those go together? I've got to see this. Like, what are you talking about? So I journeyed into my first spin class in the suburbs of Texas, and not so much the yoga that they were talking about, but I got what they were saying, and that it's more than just riding a bike in the dark going nowhere. That there's something behind it that is similar to what yoga offers, and that thing is digging deeper.
Yeah, there's an inner reflection and it's fucking experience.
It's an experience. That's how I start almost every class. This is not your typical exercise class. This is an experience.
Yeah.
So just forewarning. Yeah.
This is not
You're
about
going to
burning
get
calories.
more than what you signed up for.
Yes.
For sure. So, yeah, I was blown away the first class. And so I was like, I got to do this, but I can't afford the membership. So how can I do this? And, so I went after class, I went up to the front desk and just said, hey, do you have positions? And the person I talked to happened to be the founder and owner of the studio. And she said, we're actually hosting auditions on this date. And basically it was the following week. So I took 7 spin classes. I took 1 every day that week. And then went and auditioned.
Holy shit.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that kind of skips over one of the questions I always have is how long was it before you knew you had this internal 8 count? Like people that dance, they know there's an internal 4 count, 8 count, whatever.
Yeah.
And for me, as a guy, like it took me probably about a week, 4 or 5 classes, and I was like, okay, I'm starting to get this. It's not just coming from, not just pushing. We're not just pushing. We're actually doing something. There's a choreography to it.
Yes.
And so that was one of my questions was, I guess, did you know immediately that you had it before you auditioned, or were you just flying blind?
It was a big question mark. I have a background in dance, so I do know I have musicality, and I do know how to count 8 counts, and I have rhythm. And I've been dancing since I was age 3. And then all the way till college. And I was a dance major for my first 2 years of college. And then I switched over to kinesiology, which is the study of body movement. And so that's more fitness geared. And so my background, I felt like, I think I can do this. But still, it was like such a new thing to me. I had never experienced a class like that. And so I thought, man, this is going to be a new challenge for me, but I feel like I'm ready for that challenge. Yeah. It's scary. It's not easy, but I think something's calling me to this right now.
Hey, you jumped head first.
I jumped head first, but that's how I do things.
Yeah, you're the second person that I've heard that from. Spencer at Zen. I know he said that he took the first class and he was like, I've got to become an instructor. Yeah. And I was like, dude, why would you think that after your first class?
It's just something internal clicks. It's like the universe knows and aligns you. And it's no accident that I walked in that studio. It's no accident that, everything aligned to get me there. And that I just happened to talk to the owner when I was like, how do I get involved? And she was like, we have auditions. I mean, everything aligned. And it was almost a beautiful thing that I only had 7 days, because I probably would have freaked myself out had I had longer. Yeah. I probably would have talked myself out of it or, a zillion different excuses. But I just, God, universe knows how I function. And it's like, head first, let's go right now.
So that gets me to, we don't have to talk about it if you don't want to, but did you make it through your first training?
So then training starts. Training's like what, 7 to 10 weeks. Yeah. Yeah. So it's intense. It's like, you're training to be a full-fledged athlete.
And talking while you're doing it.
And like drawing out your personality and getting really exposed. So it's a massive undertaking in your inner world and your outer world. And so the first training is a lot. And about halfway through, I was so outside my box and being asked to do things that I just never, like, first of all, I shared this with the class here a bit ago, but earlier in my life, in my 20s, I was diagnosed with panic disorder. I was diagnosed with a lot of things, which, by the way, like diagnosis, like I don't believe in them. I believe it's a label that we slap on things just to try to understand things better. But we tend to identify with labels and it limits us. Anyways, so I was diagnosed with panic disorder. And so like the last thing I would ever imagine myself doing is put a microphone on my face and speaking in front of people. But yet here I am trying to do it. And that was my biggest hurdle. The fitness thing, I got it down. The rhythm thing, I got it down. But it was the speaking and pulling out the depths of who I am for all to see while I'm exercising. So it was very raw and exposing. But in the midst of it, I was going through a divorce, a very difficult, challenging divorce, and this was part of me, reclaiming my self-sovereignty and reclaiming my power. And so I knew I had to do this. I knew it was the right course, but halfway through I had to go to the trainers and just say, hey, I got to sit the rest out. I can't do it right now. It's too much. It's too much. I've got to focus my energy on finalizing this divorce. And at the time I had little kids, and, funneling my energy towards them during a really vulnerable, rocky time. And so I felt like I was being pulled in a zillion different directions. But I knew it wasn't goodbye to spin. I just knew it was press the pause button. Yeah, but it was exactly what I needed. Like I said earlier, the universe knows, God knows. And I needed to step in. I needed to not really step in. I needed to dive in. I needed to experience what I experienced at that moment. And then it was okay to pull back, take care of my life things. And then the next training session, I jumped right back in. And so it had to happen that way for me. All of our journeys are different.
How long was it between the first and the second training?
I think it was about 8 months. Yeah.
They were doing one.
So I worked as just part of the staff so I could keep the membership, so I can keep writing, so I could keep staying in shape.
That's key. I think that's why a lot of people, they get into it, and then something else takes over. And you don't know what that something else is until you've been up there.
Yeah.
So, on your panic disorder, your anxiety, your super anxiety, was there anything that you did to overcome that, or any practices that you did to try and get yourself mentally prepared before a class, or did you just tough it out and be the American woman and just say we're going?
Becoming a spin instructor was the way I got through that, and it was messy. And it was ugly, and it was terrifying, and I, embarrassed myself so many different times in different ways. It was a mess, but it's meant to be the mess. Healing is not linear, and it's not pretty. And so the messier it gets, the deeper you dive into your fears and face them head on, the greater the healing and the greater you will rise out of it.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
How long do you think it took for you to find your voice and find your confidence?
How long have I been doing this? 8 years?
8 years.
8 years.
8 years.
Yeah. There's always a new level. There's always a new layer to peel back, because if we are ever evolving humans, there's no place to arrive at. Like, I got this down. There was always something new in me, and like I said a minute ago, healing isn't linear. So sometimes it felt like, oh, I'm feeling anxious again. I've been doing this 4 years, and why am I feeling anxious again? Why am I nervous? And it just, it comes back around because I'm in a new phase in life, and maybe there's new stressors in life. Like after I got divorced, then I had to find my own way. I moved cities. Now I'm trying to co-parent with somebody that's not very easy to co-parent with, and get my feet on the ground, and so that was a whole new raw, vulnerable layer. And so it brought back some of that original anxiety. And so I found myself nervous teaching again.
Right. It's understandable. It's you've talked about it, and I've experienced it. Like Thursdays that you come in and you're like, how am I going to do this? You're not mentally prepared. And that's when what I call game time mode, right? You've done all this practice and you've done all this stuff. It's like, that's when you get out of your head. If you just let your body do what it's supposed to do, it's probably going to, I've had some of my best rides when I didn't feel like I was mentally prepared, but I've also had the worst of my rides. So I know that you and I are kind of the same. Like, so anybody that's watching this, people say they have a spirit animal. I have a spirit instructor, and it's Emily. I don't know how many people she trained before she trained me. But it was a whole experience, and I worked with her and another girl at a studio, and everything that she's talking about, you're talking about putting a microphone on, like petrifying.
Yeah.
You can go in with all the confidence, and as soon as you hear your voice over the system, you're like, whoa, what has happened? This is weird.
Yeah. Yeah.
But once you learn to acknowledge your voice and speak, like it's very freeing.
Yeah.
Do you think that finding your voice, so we're both very spiritual people. Do you think that spirituality helped you find your voice inside this room?
Yeah, this definitely was a spiritual place for me. Like we said earlier, this is an experience. And so if you choose to see it that way and not just show up at an exercise class, it will take you places. You are riding somewhere. You're not stationary. You are riding somewhere, and it will take you places if you are willing to open up to it. Because that's what physical movement is, whether it's in a spin class or in a HIIT class or Pilates or yoga, whatever it is, any kind of body movement, it's a vehicle. It's a key to unlock a door. It's a vehicle to take you to an inner space, because it kind of flushes out all the junk, right? And it gets you into your body, because unfortunately, we exist most of the time in our head all day long. Our little head ball is just spinning. And what physical activity does is pulls you back into your body. And so if you're attuned to it and you send some intention behind that, then you can soar. Like you can really get to some deep places, some high places, all around places. Face your fears to the depths. You can dive to the depths. I'll tell you what, spin class is one of those that helped me dive. I call healing like the tomb in the womb, where you die to self and you're in this womb, this dark cave of a place where it's shadow work. You're facing your fears, you're facing your shadows, trauma, all of it. And for me, spin class was that. It took me to some really deep places so that I could move out that energy, move out that trauma, face it, ride with it, acknowledge it during a ride. Even while I'm teaching, I'm here facing a shadow, tears are rolling down my face, but I didn't care. And that's part of teaching too for me. Is you ask kind of how I got used to the mic, or how did I handle my anxiety, was being freaking honest. I learned that, hey, the more that I share my story and share what happened that day, if I came in and I had a shit day, and I'm just like, hey, you guys, I had a shit day. Let's ride this out. I don't know if you can relate, but things happen and it hurts, and let's just ride this out. And it opens up others to do the same, And so being honest with the people you're around in the room you're guiding, it just really became a very empowering spiritual place.
Yeah, it's leaning on other people. It doesn't matter if it's only 6 people in the room or if you have 50 people in the room. It's all it takes is one other person. And Paige,
Yeah.
Like she's everyone's person. Everybody that I know is like, man, Paige, like we got to get her back in the studio. We got to into this studio. We got to get her into this studio. How do we get her? And I'm like, yeah, I don't know. You just she'll show up.
She'll show up when she shows up.
She'll show up and she's
You
gonna
can't nail her down.
she's gonna turn out and you're gonna be like, wow, I was in a really funky spot today. I was in a terrible mood. And she's over there going, yeah. It's like, okay, all right, we can let go.
Yeah.
So the people, that was my next question was, have the writers and the clients, have they helped pull you through some of those tough moments?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, 100%. It's team effort. Like, it matters who's in the room, this energy. You feel it. You feel it and you know it. And there have been days where I walk in and I'm like, I have no clue how I'm going to do this. I have no freaking clue. And it, like you said, it just takes one person, you know, and they lift you up and pull you through. And then it's like, okay, now we're doing this together. This is like putting human back in humanity. Mm-hmm. You know, this is why we come to a group fitness class and we're not doing this by ourselves at home or in the gym, you know, doing our own little workout. It's these moments because it goes beyond, again, just a fitness class. There is a connection made there on a different plane of existence, a different vibration. We connected vibrationally and felt this dance, you know, of I'm low and I need to be lifted up, and then someone comes and swoops in and lifts you up, and then we're in this space kind of dancing together and feeling, you know.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so the first, getting into that moment, the very first song can be like, it's not going to make or break a class, but it's like you and I are kind of similar in this way. Like we can have our hats forward and we'll pull the brim down. It's like, I don't want to see anybody. Mm-hmm. Just let me get halfway through this first song, mm-hmm. or let me get to the first beat drop, and then I'll look up and I'll start making eye contact. Mm-hmm. And I always attribute that to there's a Sylvester Stallone movie, you may know it, Over the Top, where he's a professional arm wrestler. It's a great.
I don't know if I've seen this. I'm surprised I haven't.
It's a crazy plot. It's amazing. He has a son that he's going. I guess he's divorced and has a son who's going to prep school and he's doing all this stuff. But he's on this nationwide arm wrestling tour to win a semi truck because he's a semi truck driver.
This is awesome. Maybe I should watch this tonight.
Oh, you should. It's fantastic. So. He has his hat. It's always on forwards, but as soon as he gets into that tournament and he gets up to somebody that like, he'll be in the finals, like you'll see him. He turns his hat back, and that's when you know that big dude's about to go down. And so every time that I've seen you turn your hat, and I felt it when I've done it in my rides, I'll turn the hat around and that's when it's like, it's go time.
Yeah.
And I may shut down vocally a little bit, but that's because I'm doing the work with you. And I think I picked that up from you.
Yes. Absolutely.
Like, oh shit, she just turned her hat backwards. Okay, we're 2 songs in. This isn't good. This is gonna be fantastic.
That is so true. Yeah. Well, I started teaching with a hat on because it was like, if I have to wear this microphone, I'm gonna hide behind my hat, right? It was a shield, and I needed that shield for that period of time. And then about 2 years in, I decided to stop wearing the hat altogether. And I taught for a while without the hat. Mm-hmm. And I felt like I needed to do that just to be fully exposed, you know. And if I messed up, just to own it, you know. And I just needed to be seen, not for validation, but for me to come out of my shell. I needed to make myself be seen and stop hiding. So I went through a period of not wearing my hat. And then like the past 2 years or so, the last 2 years, I brought the hat back because I love wearing a trucker hat. I just like wearing hats in general. I don't wash my hair very often because I was always sweating in it. Yeah, I just like, it's going to get sweaty tomorrow morning. So what's the point? And so washing the hair happened like once a week or two.
Yeah, I'm with you.
So
People give me a hard time when I tell them I may wash my hair once between haircuts.
yeah,
But it's because I sweat so much.
it's always sweaty.
And the hat, my hat is, I primarily wear it for sweat to keep it out of my eyes.
About your eyes. Yeah.
But I also look at the hat kind of as a helmet. Coming from a BMX background, always, yes, Mom, I know you're not here, but I always wore a helmet when I rode, which is not true. But when you ride with the helmet, you're a little more free, a little more carefree, you're a little looser. So it's not necessarily that, it's a layer of protection. It's not necessarily a shield at that point. The hat initially on that podium was a shield, and it has since turned into more of a helmet. Mm-hmm. And it's just a piece of clothing, but it symbolizes so much more.
Mm-hmm. It's like a part of my teaching now, and
It's part of your character.
it's part of it. Yeah, and so you're right about the first song, and that's something that I like to share with people is like take that time as an instructor. That my advice to instructors is take that moment to get into your own body, because you can't lead people if you're not in your own body.
Mm-hmm.
And you can tell when people start out and they're in their head because they start teaching like for the first beat of the music. I'm like, no, just stop right there. Just take a moment. It could be 30 seconds, you know? It's okay not to say anything right away.
Just hold your space.
Yeah, and so that's when I put my brim down and the lights are off, and I just take a moment to feel the energy in the room, feel my body moving, whether I'm on the bike or on the floor, and hear the beat and be like, okay, what's needed right now? Do I ease in or do I hammer it out, you know?
So I guess one of my questions is, this room was the previous studio that we knew each other at when it closed down. This studio, we're at TruFusion right now. It opened up, and it opened a week, 2 weeks after Zen 22 closed, right across the street. So I came over here and we started writing, and it was multiple people from Zen came over here. So it wasn't really a change. It was more of a transition. But there was instructors that I never took over. I don't know if I may have taken your class once or twice over there. I know I took you on the hit side,
Right.
but I think you were outside of my time slot, which is kind of a strange thing that there's so many great instructors, but you never find them because their time slots don't work with someone's schedule.
Right. Yeah.
But that changed here when you started doing 5:30s, 5:30 a.m. Yes, I'm a morning person. I'm not a morning person. I'm a morning workout person. And I was like, this person's amazing. And I looked at my wife and I was like, I don't know like what it is about her, but there's something different. And we were starting to shift and adjust, and I think we're kind of matching. So after spending so much time together in the same room, our energies were starting to align. So this room's always felt like home to me. I've known a lot of people in here. I'm very, very quiet when I'm out here, but it's what it is. And then you get people like Paige that gets me to come out of my shell and open up, and then I start egging on her and talking to you during class, which I know some people probably don't like when you're making lots of noise or you're growling. But as you say, you know, it's a full body workout, and use your vocal cords.
That's part of the body.
But what's your favorite thing about this room or this space in particular?
Gosh, it's been the people, honestly. The people, at this studio, it is not about what you look like. It is not about your social status or your financial status or anything like that. For some reason, I mean, I just haven't experienced that in studios where it's like almost the entire studio, they're really here to really work on themselves. Like deep, deep, deep down. Like there's no bullshit.
Yeah.
And it caught me off guard at first. Like, wow, like these are some real folks that are wanting to do some real work. And I felt at home with that because that's me 100%. I cannot small talk. It's hard for me to carry on a conversation about nothing.
Right.
And so I just dive in deep, and it's rare to find groups of people that I can do that with. And so I felt immediately at home in this space because of that, because I knew that I could start really opening up and sharing what's rolling around inside of me and really pushing the limits on inner work as well as outer work. And people were ready for it. I'm still quite a bit different than other spin instructors in that way, because there are the ones that are like, okay, that's great, but I did sign up for a spin class and I want to, I want to do the Taylor Swift bebop spin class, and that's wonderful. Sometimes we need that, and but I run on a different vein.
Yeah. My taste in music is very broad. And it ranges anywhere from something that you will play to like a classic rock song. It could be just straight 2000s hip hop. It could be Godsmack. It could be anything.
Miley Cyrus
or Taylor Swift. It's usually going to be, if it's Taylor, it's going to be some sort of remix. But like I really enjoy writing to original tracks, and I think that's probably because I know what it took to create that, and it pays an homage to that artist. So, is there a genre that if you had to pick one genre and say that this is the one that you most of the time, your 8 years, today is her last day. She just had an amazing class. I think we mentioned this, but if not, what would you say it was, since it's not Taylor?
I would say that I probably most likely included some sort of 80s song every single spin class I've taught for 8 years. Unless I did a theme. Good. Unless there was a theme where it was like, I don't even know. But yeah, usually 80s.
It's so easy. I mean, you think about all the music that current artists sample. Majority of it comes from the 80s. Mm-hmm.
We're children of the 80s.
I say I'm an 80s kid. I'm a child of the 80s, but I'm a 90s kid.
Yeah.
And I love, one of my favorite things to do when I was doing training with you, when I would come in and just practice myself, was I would do shuffle ride, and I would just hit shuffle and I would ride for an hour, and I didn't know what was coming. And Motley Crue would come on. I'd be like, oh, yes, let's go. And there's a guy working on the electrical box over here by the door on the exit sign. And I'm like, you like this? And he's like, I don't know. And the next song that comes on is a country song. And I'm like, yeah, you can ride to country music too. It's fine. It's what it is. But then it comes back and it's Journey or Whitesnake, which you played for one of my birthday rides. It's Whitesnake's "Here I Go Again," right? And it's all that. Right. It's all on my own. And you're like, wait, why don't we play this more? Because it's a song about a journey, and you're going. And I listen to it I probably listen to it twice a week on my way to the gym when I'm walking across the parking garage. Yeah. And I'm like, yeah, okay, nobody else is gonna do this. It's just me. But yeah, I don't know. You've been a huge influence for me, and I know you have been for others. And I think we've had a pretty good friendship so far. It's only going to get better. I don't know. We don't know where we're going, right?
We don't.
As I said in my second community ride at Neon, I don't know where this journey is taking me, but whether it's on a podium leading, or if this is where I was supposed to be doing interviews with not some of my favorite instructors, but instructors across the board to find out what their journey is, because I don't think I told you this. We both know that people want to be, specifically in the spin class, they want to be friends with their spin instructor. Some of them want it to be contained inside the walls of the studio. Some people want it to be outside. They want to get to know you more.
Right.
So I think that's where this comes in. And if they listen to it, they're going to find out more about their favorite instructor. And if they continue to listen to another instructor, they might say, oh, I didn't know that about this person. We have that in common. I'm going to go take their class at that studio.
100%. There's so much with humans. Like, there are layers. We are multifaceted human beings. And so, we have such a limited perspective if we only get 45 minutes with a person. And, it's mainly geared towards working out. And so there's not a whole lot of talk.
Yeah.
To get to know them. So
there's not a whole lot of time afterwards.
Right. And so I absolutely love this, because you get to really unpack and see the many layers of what makes somebody them, and it allows us to relate and connect in such a beautiful way, because you're just like, man, I didn't know you went through that. Oh my God. Like, one of the things, Delisa, one of the writers in class tonight, came up afterwards, and she just was like, we are all on our journey, and thank you for sharing your journey with me, because I would have never been able to get through this, or I would have never been able to, be open and honest and have this conversation with this other person. It opened her in a way just by sharing my story. And for her to see, we're all going through some shit. We're all a mess. We're all on a journey. We all kind of don't know what we're doing. We're figuring it out. So yeah.
The first time that you mentioned that you had panic attacks or anxiety, and I don't know, that's probably two plus years ago. I don't remember when it was, but it was probably around the time that we were doing training. And then we were talking, and you're doing Reiki, and we were working together, and it was like, how do we open up this throat chakra?
Right.
And the very first time that I went to you, one of my dogs, he had just passed. And you told me, like, hey, you don't know, shit's going to come out that you don't know. Like, some people, they burp, they have to go pee, they have to do all sorts of stuff. They'll cough, but something's going to come out. Mine was that night we went to happy hour, and I looked at a friend of mine who was going through some shit, and I was just very straightforward, which is not like me. If you know anything about Enneagrams, I'm a type 9, so I'm very calm, very reserved. I don't want to start. I just want to keep the peace. I don't want to cause any trouble. But going to you for the Reiki outside of here, they're very similar.
Oh yeah.
Like, you're moving energy. There, it's just more of a concentrated energy. So what you did was you introduced me to the next level. And then since then, I've continued. I mean, after I did the second, or maybe it was the third session with you and the other two, which was bonkers.
It was wild.
But it was the same thing. It was like all the work that it would have taken weeks and weeks and weeks and months, like, it happened in an hour. I've been able to share that with other people, and I've shared your story with other people and like how I got there. And I let people know that I have friends that they've had to go to rehab for one reason or another. And I'm like, there's two things I can tell you to do. You can go do a spin class, and that will help. Or you can go do Reiki, or you can go do crystal bed healing. You can do acupuncture. It's not necessarily something that has to be done by a medical doctor or medical practitioner.
Right.
So this bike is it's a doctor in itself.
Mm-hmm. It is. It's a therapist.
Yeah. Do you find that building a playlist is, you can tell me if this is how it is for you. When I build a playlist, it kind of stems from one song. I'll hear a song and I drop it into a new folder, and then I build everything off of that one. And it's not a theme, but there's usually an underlying thing. Do you,
like a common thread?
Yeah, does something like that typically happen, do you feel, for you?
Yeah. It usually is off of one song. Like I'll hear it somewhere, or I'll just remember it one day and be like, oh yeah, I want to play that. It'll just pop in my head randomly, and I'll build off of that one song. Yeah. And it's like, I mean, there's a science behind building a playlist. And like when I first started, it would take me about 2.5 hours to build a playlist, if not longer, because I just put so much intention into it, and I took it seriously, and I want to do good at whatever I do. So if it's scrubbing the toilets, I want to do a great job. If it's making a playlist for a spin class, I want to do a great job.
Yeah.
And so I put a lot of time into it, and the trainers that I originally trained with said, you'll cut your time down to about an hour, probably 30 minutes to make a playlist. And I would say, I don't think I've ever made a playlist in 30 minutes. It's hour plus still. Because it is a science behind it, of course, just with the technical things like the BPMs and how you want to spread out the BPMs and not have songs back to back, blah, 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 all of those things. But also it's a delicate weave. You have a thread that you are weaving this masterpiece together,
Yeah, the best way that you described it when we first started was the energetic curve.
Mm-hmm.
You ramp up, you kind of hit this crescendo, and then you come back down, and then you ramp back up, and you come back down. It's like a roller coaster.
Mm-hmm.
And I think you're probably one of the best that I've seen do that roller coaster. There's a lot of really good, like Jen. I love Jen.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, but it's just like
it's here.
It's here, and
It's here.
we get there and we stay
And you
there.
stay there.
And I love it. There's like little spikes, but I mean, you and Jen are complete opposites. You're yin and yang, but you fit together so well.
Yeah.
It's very thoughtful, and what you have to do to make that work. And I think that you've done a great job with it.
Thank you.
It's not easy.
It's not easy. The energetic curve, or the energy curve, or the energy arc, it made everything. It made the difference. My trainers taught me that, and I never wavered from that, because you, as an instructor, you are holding people's hearts in your hand. I know that sounds extreme, and I know it's just a fitness class we're talking about, but it's like we said, it's so much more than a fitness class. This bike is a therapist. This is an experience. And these people chose to step in this room with me. They are entrusting me to guide them. I have their heart in my hands, basically.
Yeah.
And so I want to handle it with care. So I'm not going to throw you into something that you're not ready for, your body's not ready for. Maybe I'll push the limits and ask you to do something outside the comfort zone, of course. That's why we're here. But I'm going to handle it with care. And so that arc is a way to guide the nervous system through that experience in a healthy way.
So going back to pushing you outside of your comfort zone, we both know the only way to grow your comfort zone is to step outside of your comfort zone. Sounds counterintuitive, but that's the way it is.
Yeah.
Like today, I don't know, you may recall you said we're going to get up and we're going to stay up, but I don't know how long.
Tell you how long.
And I just yelled out 128. And I have no idea how long we were up.
Yeah.
And
about that.
I think I took about an 8-count seat, and then I got back up. But I was like, fuck, she's up. She's staying. Oh man, this girl, she's going out with a bang. And I look around the room, and almost everybody, even they may not be on beat, but they're staying up and they're working.
They're working. Yes. Yes. You could see in everybody's face, like, the effort and the intent of, I'm going to try. I'm going to try. That was one of my favorite things to do, was do 128 count jumps.
Oh, it's so much fun.
Because it is fun. Just to test it, you know. And a lot of times I would preface by saying, hey, if you need to take a seat, great, do it. But try to see how long you can stay up. And so this time for the last hurrah, I was like, I'm not going to tell you how long it is. Yeah, so that way you don't kind of set yourself up for failure. Like, oh, whatever, I'm not going to do it. You know, you actually are like, oh, I don't know. Let's see.
Yeah. One of my favorite things to do, and I'm sure it came from you, but is to say, wait, hold, or stay up. Stay the fuck up. And it's just, and usually it's with a little hand motion. It's like, stay up. And it's like, what? Because when I first started doing spin classes, I was like, how do they know when 64 counts are up? Because they'll say, we're going to go up for 64. And so I'm counting. I'm like, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2. All right. 32. All right. 8, 4, 3, 2, down. And we go down. And I'm like, oh, I was like, how'd they do it? And once I learned like what everything was about, I was like, man, this is amazing. You guys would push us like, no, we're staying up. And I'm like, what? I don't want to stay up. We don't stay up. We only stay up for 64. Yeah. Has she lost her mind?
Did she run out of things to do?
Did she forget? One of our friends, they have creative counting. You know, it's 5, 4, 4, 4, 4, 3, 2, 1.
You know, it's whatever.
It's that odd 4 count, you know, that throws you off. But I don't know what else. I have like 4 pages of bullet points and questions, just kind of like guidelines, you know?
Yeah.
We covered most of them, and it's really good. But with you, I really wanted to tap into the panic attacks, and see kind of how you overcame that. Yeah. And one of my last questions that I have is, it's really odd that this is the first person. This is not odd. As we say, it's synchronistic. It was going to be, where do you see yourself in the spin community, or where do you see this community going in the future? I feel like there's a shift coming. As you and I both know, like, I've been through multiple trainings at multiple studios, and I've seen drastically different training styles.
Yeah.
But I feel like there's a shift at some point that's going to kind of shift its way back to, you do some choreography, but you don't do any elaborate choreography. It's kind of like a power ride, right? Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. It's a very rhythm-based power ride.
Yeah.
I feel like that's kind of where it's going to go. I don't know if that's where the music's going to take it, or if that's where studios will allow it to go, but I think that's where it's going to go. And now that you're leaving, you'll get to experience that. Mm-hmm. If you decide to continue riding, you'll get to see it from the rider's perspective.
Yeah. I do feel like there's something, it kind of it evolved a lot over this past 8 years. So like, I would say about the 4-year mark, it started to get into a lot of faster things,
Yeah.
BPMs, and going fast, and how many moves can you do at that BPM, and how crazy
can you hit a 32 count choreo, and so you go through it twice for a 64 count, and it's
Right.
like what
Yeah,
what's happening?
it's like a dance, basically. It's a choreographed dance, but on a bike, and it's like not the same choreography. It's all different, and it's crazy. And again, like for me, that's all well and good, and wonderful and fun, But
It is.
at this studio, it is not a ride specific studio.
Exactly.
Right? There are other modalities here. So the clientele that's coming in aren't necessarily riding 2 spin classes a day like people would at a spin specific studio. They would do doubles. It was common for people to do doubles, sometimes triples. And
Triples.
Like, no one needs that much cardio in their life.
Yeah. I would literally have to change clothes.
Yeah.
Like change entire outfits.
Yeah. So, in a spin specific studio, like adding more choreography and making it faster and more challenging, I get that. But that's not what this studio is about. And so I was really intent on meeting people where they're at, but also challenging them. There's nothing harder than doing a heavy hill. Like, it is the hardest thing you can do on a bike. Not the fancy choreo. That's just being fancy.
And if it's not hard, you don't have enough resistance.
Exactly.
If you're not engaging your hamstrings to pull that pedal
To pull
up,
and push.
you have to push and pull.
Your whole body's working here. That's the hardest thing you do on a bike, is the heavy hills, the heavy pushes. And so, like, I never excluded that from my rides. I kept that. And I did choreography, but I made the combos tangible, easy. Not necessarily easy, but you know what I mean? Like doable.
Yeah.
For most people. But I would throw in a song or two and just kind of throw some choreography quickly to meet the people who are looking for a challenge. Right. So I tried to make it well-rounded for what this studio requires.
Yeah, on the choreography side, did you kind of pre-program what you wanted to do in a class, and then you get into it and the song calls for something completely different?
Yeah. Like when I first started teaching, I'd pre-program a lot, and I'd put notes out to the side, and then you'd get in here and be like, "Whoa, that's not happening."
Yeah, if it's late in the ride, you're too tired.
Yeah.
It's just not gonna.
So you gotta, flip the script, and so then I just stopped programming like that. I would have some idea of things, but really, like, after a while, you kind of have to realize who's in your class, what they're ready for, what, challenge can you throw at them that would, not be unattainable, but get them outside the comfort zone, whatnot.
Yeah, I don't remember what we did tonight, but it was Soldier Boy came on, and I was like, my natural response to that was do chops.
Yeah.
Chops, press, chops, press. And you took us I think you took us into like power V's or something.
We did a lot.
And I was just like, why is she doing this? This is not how I would program this class. But it's so good because it forces you to think. I don't know if you've probably seen them, but forces you to think outside of the box. And there's multiple ways that you can program a class and program your choreography. It's tricky. I've been to an instructor where we were hitting like a 96 RPMs, and the choreography was reach right, reach left, reach right, reach left, walk, right, center, left, center, clap, right, left, center, right, clap, down, press, 2, up, 1, 2, 3, 4, sway, 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 sway. And I was like, when they ran through it, I was like, there's no way. Like we're not getting this. There's multiple instructors in this class. Like, we're not getting this. But the way that they incorporated, it was a longer song, so we had 3 or 4 times to get through it, and we just built it. We just built it.
Yes.
And I think that was probably one of the first long combos that I've ever done. And I was like, okay, that's fun. Like, I really enjoyed it.
Yeah.
But it's not my style. I have a lot of fun doing it, but it's so much work.
Yeah.
Like mentally.
There's a way to do that where it is actually attainable for people, and that is long song, and you start with the first move and you kind of do that a little bit, and then you combine it with the second, and so you build into that space. That's the way to do it. If you're going to do a long combo like that. Otherwise, there's no way in hell that anyone could ever remember all of that. So, I think, but to answer your original question, I do think like where spin is going is kind of bringing back the heaviness, the hills, the tight resistance. One thing that happened, we get reviews as instructors, of course, and not every review is going to be wonderful, right? And people have their own opinions and you can't please everybody. So one review I got was that class wasn't challenging at all. And I do the class, like this is one of the rare modalities where you actually do the workout with the class. Most of the time, some people teach on the floor more, but I'm comfortable teaching on the bike mostly. And I was like, I died in that class. And I've been doing this a bit. Probably have a few thousand rides under my belt, and it's because the resistance wasn't turned up, of course, you know.
Yeah, riding is zero.
Yeah, and so they're here looking for the dance moves and the fancy stuff with no resistance on the bike. Well, of course it's not challenging, So I don't know. We don't really know. We can't answer that, but honestly, I think people are going to want the challenge.
Yeah. I didn't know that I didn't know this until fairly recently, that people were, and I saw it, I think on Instagram or somewhere, and they were running like 140 RPM, and they were out of the saddle. I was like, it may have been faster than that. I was like, what is happening?
Yeah.
Like, how are they doing this? And then I've actually been to a class and the instructor did it, and I was like, I'm not doing it. I literally sat down front row right in the middle, and I'm like making I've made uncomfortable eye contact with you before, just like staring at you. Like, and I do it with all the instructors. I'm like, what is happening? Why are you doing this to us? And I just sat down and I was like, okay, I'll just hold the pace. I'll hold the pace. And I was just like, I can't. This isn't me. Yeah. So I've been recording rides at home, and I have the whole setup. But it's really fun for me now because I'm trying to do them at just 20 minutes. And whenever I decide where I'm going to post these rides at, it's going to be more geared towards power and endurance. There may be occasions where I'm going to throw in choreography for people that want to do that, but it's going to have to be a really odd week for me. And I'm just going to have Taylor Swift on repeat that week, and that's just going to be going through, and I'm going to be driving down the road, reaching, press, push, reach, press, push, And I don't know.
The car has always been one of the best places to practice.
The car is also one of the best places to not listen to music.
Right. Oh my gosh.
Leads me to another question, and then we'll wrap this up. Since we listen to so much music preparing, do you listen to very much music outside?
I'm in silence. I'm in silence 90% of the time in the car and at home.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's a lot. And like one of the things that kind of started to get to me towards the end, and one of the reasons why I'm shifting out of ride, is because I started to get really sensitive, because the more you heal, the higher the vibration, right? And so I'm just getting to a place where I'm sensitive about the vibrations of the music. specifically the lyrics and what they're saying. And some of these songs I played tonight are just some of my favorite songs because the beat. And like I've never even listened to the lyrics because I love the beat so much, and the drops are perfect, and like it just gets everybody amped up. But I started to, the words, I started to pay attention, and because I kept feeling a little bit drugged down, drug, whatever. Pulled down. And then I'm like, what am I actually playing here? What are the lyrics to this song? Oh, okay. Yeah.
Well, it's like we were on the boat one time we're out wake surfing with a friend of mine, and because I typically drive the boat when we go out, because that's kind of how I pay my buddy back. I'll pay for gas, and I'll drive his boat for him. That way he can just sit back and relax. And DMX came on, and Amy, my wife, she goes, "Oh my God, I love DMX." And I was like, "You do?" And she's like, "Yeah, he's so happy." And I looked at my buddy and I was like, I don't think she's ever listened to the lyrics. I was like, this is not a happy man. I was like, it's a very upbeat tempo. They're all around, if you're going to be on a bike, around 90 RPMs, 96. And it's a quick, fast jog. I was like, but that's why she thinks that it is. And it's some of I say that 97 to 2007 was the greatest genre of hip hop music, but that's probably because that was my era in there. And there's been times where, like at my community ride, I played DMX, and I was just like, okay, we're there's a lot of mothers in here. Don't know if I can get away with this. There's no backlash, but like when it came on, my first thought when I heard the first lyrics, I was like, oh no, Kelsey. But at that point, you have to embrace it.
Yeah.
And it's like, try not to bring attention to it. It's just an embrace, like just get to the beat of the music and make it what it is. But yeah, I don't listen to a whole lot. Well, I take that back. I listen to, it's either silence. I've started listening to podcasts quite a bit, or I'm in the car so much. Sometimes I just go and I hit iTunes. I have remixes. So I have 2 playlists that I play a lot. And one of them it's like 400 songs of remixes. And then another one is like 400 songs of what's called dance music, it's not necessarily dance music, but I just hit shuffle. And that's when I start to build a playlist is that way. I'm not really listening to the music. It's just kind of background noise. I'm like, all right, this is what we got. Yeah. But yeah, music's tricky.
It's tricky.
Because it's not for everybody. What is your taste may not be mine. Yeah. And as being on that podium and leading, you're trying to incorporate everybody. You're trying to be inclusive to everybody, but it's not always possible, which I think I've had feedback that someone didn't like 2 of my songs, and one of them said I didn't like the Mandy Moore song, and I'm like, well, first off, it wasn't Mandy Moore. It was Robin. So go before you tell me you don't like something. Let's make sure that you know what it is. That didn't go over too well.
Everybody's got their opinion. Like, it's impossible to please everybody. Right? Yeah. So the only thing we can do is be us.
Be honest with ourselves. Be authentic.
Yeah.
Which I think you've taught me how to be very authentic, and it's something I'm very proud of.
You should be proud. You should be proud.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, of course.
Let's get out of here. We'll get home, watch the Mavericks win tonight.
Yay.
Hopefully.
I'm just going to sit in silence and stare at the wall.
Hang out with the cat.
All right. Yeah, well, thank you for inviting me to do this. And it's been quite a journey. Like you said earlier, this is 8 years. And today was my last class to teach. And so thank you for being there.
For now.
Exactly. We don't know what's around the corner. No. And that's what I shared. I don't know what's next for me. It's not like I have a plan of what I'm diving into next head first. But we'll see.
I think as long as, if it's right, it will flow and it'll be easy.
Exactly.
And I'm transitioning somewhere right now. I don't know where I'm transitioning to, but I'm finding joy doing stuff that I haven't done in a while, and it's starting to open up more and more doors. So I'm excited to see I'm excited to see where we're both going to be.
I know. 3 months from now.
Sorry. Yeah. It could be a completely different story.
Things shifted. Like, I didn't know I was not going to be teaching, like it just happened so quickly.
Yeah. When we were here, I think it was a month ago that we were in here. At that point, Paige was talking about, she's like, this is my last month.
Yeah.
Because she moved up north.
Yeah. And I didn't know. Like, I had signs, but it wasn't, I was just still feeling like it was far off.
Yeah, a little birdie told me that this was gonna be your last class. I think it was last week, and it came from Jen. She was like, "I heard this," and I was like, "What?" I was like, oh, okay. I was like, I don't write at 6 p.m. at night, but it's for Emily. I'll do it.
Yeah, I just something hit me, and I just called Dallas, the director, and just said, "You know what? It's going to be May 30th.
Yeah.
That's it."
Yeah. I reached out to him and I was like, hey, I don't know if, I was like, I'm sure I said, I know that you guys brought on somebody, but I said, now that you're having someone else walk out, I was like, if you guys for some reason schedules don't work out, let me know. And I would love to come in and do an audition for you or send you videos of community rides. Or just send you videos of rides. And so I don't know if that's in the cards. But it's just like one of those things, you don't know if you don't ask.
Yeah.
And my main thing with Dallas is like him and Carmen, I'm a firm believer that they deserve the roles that they're in.
100%.
They're two of my favorite people here.
They're amazing. And yeah, they've been doing an incredible job.
Yeah.
Incredible job.
Speaking of authenticity, you get what you see.
You do.
So it's a pretty cool thing about the studio is it's pretty much across the board, whether it's on the yoga side or over on the strength side or in the ride room.
You never know what's around the corner.
No.
You never know. Like we've gone through 2 directors already. Dallas and Carmen are number 3 and 4. And you think that it's going to be one way forever, and you never know. Things shift so fast. And so perhaps it had to shift a certain way because the timing wasn't right at that moment, right? And so it shifted in a way, and so it could be coming back around. Like why I took 2 training sessions to get where I'm at, it was like, it was the right time, but then it wasn't, and I'd shift and...
Yeah, because there's a song that I had found right before my dog Trooper passed, and it's called "Find Our Way." And I didn't know, I was like, oh, I really like this song. And then when he passed, he was my best friend. I was like, man, did he just? Cause I literally woke up that morning and I hit shuffle on the phone as I tend to do, and just kind of get my day going, and it started, and I lost it, and I was like, this little kid is telling me, hey, it's okay, you're gonna find your way.
Yeah.
And then when I ended up leaving here and went up north and trained, and that didn't pan out, and I was primarily, my reason for going up there was to continue what you had taught me and then get more perspective, and it was more of a growing and learning experience. They got me to open up even more because it's a huge room.
Yeah.
And then the next stop, I wanted to keep growing and showing up. But I don't know where I was going with that. But it's, finding our way.
Yeah.
The timing was right for them. And the timing is right for you. We don't know where we're going, but we're going to find our way.
Exactly.
I always say it's not, even if it's not right now, it doesn't mean it's not never.
Exactly. And a lot of times it's more fun to not know.
All right. Well, thank you.
Well, it's been an honor. Thank you.
I appreciate it. High five.
Of course.
Hey guys, that is my friend Emily Orson. Thank you for sticking around. Thank you for listening to her journey, her story. And I hope you're able to take away something that maybe is something similar to what you've encountered in your life. She has influenced and touched many people's lives over the last 8 years, and mine being one of them in particular. So it's been a great journey. I hope you enjoyed it. If you like this content, please like, subscribe, follow, and we will have more conversations with other spin instructors at other studios around the Dallas-Fort Worth area. And we will see you on the other side. Bye.